the most influential personality in the area and in the household in general. And she is one of the leading senior ophthalmologists in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And she was the head of the ophthalmology department and King Faisal University and King Faisal Hospital and Riyadh for many years. And also she supervised the the clinics also for ophthalmology for many years. She is also a leading member in the treatment, studies for last children. One of the Selwa to tell us his conference and to get to you using artificial intelligence screening the body, which is a leading program now. Kingdom, she is leading this program.
Thank you very much. I want you guys to excuse my voice. I'm not sure what happened, but I think I'm talking always too much. I've given more than 3 lectures just within 48 hours. I'd like to thank the organizing committee, the scientific committee, and special thanks to Dr. Nancy, who I will tell you has been so adamant to make sure that Al-Baha is part of the 2030 vision, part of the digital transformation. And I am happy to say that Al-Baha actually is the first, if you will, city in the south of Saudi Arabia to actually embrace artificial intelligence. I am going to be giving a workshop on artificial intelligence later today, which I will actually explain what artificial intelligence is. But in this particular lecture, I will be concentrating on what we have. I'll be concentrating, how do you, maybe move it from here. How do you advance the, should it be through this? It's not advancing. You want me to do, okay, fine, all right. I'm just going to, oh, okay, that changed, but that's fine. I'm going to talk a little about a diabetic eye disease before I go into what we have done here in Baha at the Diabetic Center, which each and every one of you should be proud about, especially since now Al-Baha has embraced the digital transformation. We know that the diabetic eye disease, as my colleague, Dr. Hindi, explained very elegantly, it is considered the main cause of adult blindness. But with timely diagnoses, you can more or less, if you will, be able to control it. I'm sorry that the slides changed. This is not the color, and I'm sorry for the small because it wasn't like that, but that's fine. So we know that it's high glucose blood level. We know that for a fact. We also know, I'm trying to get the, we also know that with timely diagnoses, we can actually revert any diabetic retinopathy. And if we give the treatment at the right time, whether we're using laser or we're using the injection in the eye or the major surgery, it can be irreversible. Again, I do apologize that it's small. I think the whole thing changed, but we'll be able to manage. My sincere apologies. I think it's just the system is not the same. But it is so important for each and every one of you, especially in the health sector, to embrace digital transformation, artificial intelligence, because if you don't do that, you're going to be lacking behind in medicine. We know that the country is insisting on digital transformation, we're actually very proud as Saudis. We're actually very proud as Saudis that we in the G20, the Saudi Arabia was considered number one. This tells you a lot about, thank you. It tells you a lot about what Saudi Arabia is doing. We are going to be considered the leaders in digital transformation, especially you've heard about NEOM and you've heard about the line. These are the first smart cities globally, and Saudi Arabia is going to be the pioneer in that. So why do I care about digital transformation? Well, the most important thing is it cares about the health and well-being. It should not be doctors just examining the patients. For us as ophthalmologists, we should not waste our time triaging or diagnosing patients. If you would ask me, Dr. Hindi, Dr. Saeed, what would we prefer to do? I will tell you, we would prefer to treat patients, to be able to use our skills. We should let the artificial intelligence do the simple task of the diagnoses, which after many years, since we are all three senior, we don't want to do any more diagnoses. It's routine. We are more interested in actually doing surgery. So again, I apologize for the, so we came with something called the Smart Examiner. And what it does, it uses deep learning technology, which I will be explaining in the workshop. And what it does, it should screen and diagnose patients for us ophthalmologists. And also another important thing, it does it within 1 minute. We just did a big, if you will, event on the Diabetic Day. And we brought in the camera. The camera is actually just the tool. And one of the ladies was sitting down. I tried to stay away because I don't want them to think I'm the one that's doing the diagnoses. So she came up to me, she saw me, she said, Dr. Selwa, examine me. I told her, no, I can't examine you. She says, why? I said, because there's another doctor. And she said, where is the doctor? I said, he's up there. She says, what do you mean? I said, he's up there in the cloud, the Sahab and Amina. She said, Doctora, is he or she as good as you? I said, what if I was to tell you she is better than me? She said, then bring the doctor on. So you really have to talk their language. You know, when you're talking with the diabetics, don't go into this lavish, talk their language. These are lay people. So now everyone is happy. And I can tell you at the King Salman Hospital, we completed 3,000 cases through the Ministry of Health, which I'm going to be talking about. In Hira, Mecca, we concluded almost 1,000 cases. And I'm happy to say here in Baha, we're going to reach about 500 exams. So this is really, each and every one of you should be proud of it. So I'm just going to talk a little here about, as rightly mentioned by my the endocrinologist colleague, that unfortunately and I'm sorry that the colors all changed for some reason, but the Middle East, unfortunately, is considered very high. We are considered the second highest expected increase after Africa. We are actually going higher than expected. And then I hope you guys can see this because it really changed from that point. But I'd just like you to remember that most of the diabetic eye disease, the majority, unfortunately, are undiagnosed. Now, the IDF, the International Diabetic Federation, says that we have a total of 4,120,000 diabetics at the moment right now. The WHO, which we don't know what, if this is valid, they actually indicate 7 million diabetics here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We might have to skip the slide because I don't know if you guys can read it, but at the moment right now, we're only doing 25% of the screening. It's not because, this is because the government doesn't want to screen. It does not mean because patients are not showing up. We do not have enough human resources. The number of diabetics that is increasing will never, us as ophthalmologists, if the government would graduate ophthalmologists, 1,000 a year, we would not be able to keep up with the diabetes. So it means no matter what we do, no matter how far we can go, we stretch ourselves, we will never be able to screen every single diabetic. If you're diagnosed with diabetes today, you should have your eye exam the following day. This is your basic right. And unfortunately, this is not happening. As you can see, this is the number of patients right now that we have, about 40,000, but this is only the number of patients from the patients that are screened. So there are many patients that are undiagnosed. So if we look at this slide, which I really like, for every 3 diabetic patients, there will be 1 patient that will have the diabetic eye disease. This is according to the IDF. And so 1 in 3 of our patients will develop diabetes. Of those 1 in 3, 1 in 3 are at the risk of developing diabetic eye disease. And this is really very, very depressing, to be honest, as ophthalmologists, when we know that 1 in 3 are developing diabetes. We know that there are 537 million at the moment right now, according to the IDF of 2021. We're expecting to see the statistics of 2023, where by 2045, again, I do apologize, there will be 783 million. I will promise you that when the IDF 2023 comes out, the International Diabetic Federation, the number is going to be much higher than this. All these patients need to be eye examined. There's just no question about it. Only at the moment right now, 24% are being screened here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And I told you why. We cannot keep up with the growing number. Many a times when the corona hits in, I used to talk to Dr. Tawfiq al-Rabia, and I used to say to him, everybody's running for the acute pandemic, which is the corona. But there's something called the silent pandemic that is killing people. Mortality, morbidity is rising. Why don't we pay as much attention to this silent pandemic as we did to the corona? So globally, if you want to believe it, and we're talking about the States, only 55% are being screened for diabetic eye disease. Again, only half the population. This is really very bad. So what's our solution? What do you do? I can't waste my skills. Dr. Hindi can't waste his skills. Dr. Saeed can't waste his skills just doing this routine exam. So what is the solution? The solution is automation. The only way we're going to be able to cover all this and bring the diabetic blindness down is actually by automation. This is just showing that the aging population, our aging population is growing. Our medical care is improving. So when you have these older patients living longer, what's going to happen? You're getting more chronic diseases, whether it's diabetes, whether it's heart disease, you name it, whether it's hypertension, even cancer, genetic diseases are on the rise. So now that we are improving our medical care, unfortunately, we are actually increasing the diabetes. Again, we are considered number 1, Saudi Arabia, when we compare us to the other Gulf areas, and this is really very sad. Actually, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait are competing worldwide on the obesity. I wish we were comparing something else much more healthier. So again, I'm not sure what happened with this, but we can manage. So if we look at this, I just showed you the importance of, we're going to reach 783 in the Middle East. And I told you we are considered the second in the Middle East. We have at the moment right now 73 million diabetics. This is only in the Middle East. It's going to reach to this number here. In the Saudi Arabia, we can say we have 4.5 million diabetics. We are considered the number 1 prevalence among the Gulf areas. And we are also considered the 5th highest prevalence globally. People say we're in the 10th. We are not. We're actually in the 5th. And this is through the IDF If you look at this right here, we know that the diabetic eye disease is actually, as we mentioned, 1 in 3. So for every 3 patients that are diabetic, 1 of them will have diabetic eye disease. How did I come across this number? I worked with McKinsey, who I work not for NEOM, I work in NEOM. This is how I was able to get the artificial intelligence moving here in the kingdom. We collected every single study that was done here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and we came up with this. Of these 33%, by the way, only 12% will have vision-threatening disease. I'm not going to go into it because you're not ophthalmologists, but 12% will have vision-threatening disease. So if we could get to these patients in time, we can actually decrease this. In Great Britain, because they've been using artificial intelligence, and I'm going to be showing it in the workshop where I will explain what artificial intelligence is. Number 1 disease, blindness disease, was diabetic retinopathy. Now it has gone down to number 10. So this is what we are planning on doing with the digital transformation. We have actually told the higher authorities we will bring it down to number 10, inshallah. Can you imagine that the kingdom is spending 27 billion Saudi riyals? This is humongous. And it's projected to go to 43 billion Saudi riyals just on the diabetic care, simply because people just do not actually adhere to what they have been told by their endocrinologists. We did a survey on patients that have diabetes. And we said to them, what do you prefer? Would you like someone to amputate your leg? We took the patient's concern to amputate your leg. Do you believe only 16% said amputate my leg, heart disease? This is their concerns. Do you believe the highest number concern of patients, diabetic patients, was what? Not going blind. So he would say, the patient, amputate my leg, but do not take my sight. So the concern for the eye disease was actually 40%. And this is a survey that was actually done randomly. If we said the diabetic eye disease, 33%, those are, by the way, the diagnosed. God only knows how many are undiagnosed. And the vision-threatening disease is actually, it could be anywhere from 10 to 12. It's not considered high, but if we don't get to these patients by automation and be able to examine every single diabetic patient from a point of an ophthalmology, we will not be able to catch all these patients. Again, the pre-diabetics are 3 million. The actual diagnosed diabetic, and by the way, these are only the diagnosed. God only knows how many are undiagnosed. God only knows how many are non-reachable. This is why I made it my mission and my obligation not to treat people that come to King Faisal Hospital or to the eye hospital. I want to go out to places like Hira, Al-Baha, Medina, places that these simple patients, these underprivileged patients cannot reach the eye hospital, cannot reach the King Faisal Specialist Hospital. God forbid, if you or one of your relatives, your parents developed diabetes and you wanted to get a good exam, do you think you can get, you would have to go to a hospital to be able to get someone that's board certified, someone that does nothing but retina to be able to get a good exam. Why should you have to go to a hospital? Why not through automation? I bring it here and I can tell you at the moment right now, in your diabetic eye, in your diabetic center, here in the hospital, we are running the actual artificial intelligence, which means every single patient that gets examined, even though I am not there, even though Dr. Muhammad bin Khdal is not there, although Dr. Faisal Gahtani is not there, I'm just kidding, although Fadwa Adil, these are the top retinologists, what the exam they are getting is actually more sensitive than all of us. And this is what we were able to bring to Al-Baha. So If we would examine these patients by artificial intelligence, we would be saving per patient $100. I bring it in dollars because that's what McKinsey does. Do you believe that in 1 year, by examining only 1 million diabetics, we would be able to save the country $100 million? That is a number that actually is considered very high. Why do I want to change? Why do I want to change from my traditional to the automation or the artificial intelligence? One, because it requires a lot of human resources. You can talk to Dr. Nancy, and she will tell you right now, the optometrists are doing the diagnoses for us as ophthalmologists. They're taking the photo and they get everything there. It's the optometrist, which means you save the ophthalmologist of wasting his time and efforts and leaving his diabetic eye clinic to come to the diabetic center. So you're saving a lot of money on the human resources. The costs, if you actually bring a doctor of someone like me to examine, I'm going to charge you more. So why not have the optometrists do it, which are there and are working? The waiting time. We all worked at the eye hospital. Patients would be given appointments in years. مش تقصير منهم. It's just the way, it's a bottleneck. They would call the patient and they would say the patient died a year ago. So we shouldn't have to depend on hospitals to get good eye care when it comes to diabetic retinopathy. So the waiting time is cut, but more important than that is the waiting time in the clinic. I can't tell you the number of times my patients have fainted waiting for me because my clinics are overcrowded. And most important thing, I want to get it out of the hospital. Every single diabetic patient, wherever they are, should have and should be entitled to good care without coming to a hospital. And this is what artificial intelligence does. If we get the patients in the first year, lucky, they're all green. Wonderful. And the number is small. But by the time they get triaged, by the time they get sent to these major hospitals, we have wasted, they're now into their third year. So not only did the number increase, unfortunately, what happened? They're all blind. So anything green is good. Anything red, they have gone blind. And it's irreversible, by the way. Most of it is irreversible. I always tell my patients when I come and I used to do the laser or the injection, I tell them I am not improving your vision. I'm stabilizing it. Whatever you have lost, I want to at least stabilize it. Very seldom can we improve their vision. So what is artificial intelligence? We take the photo of the fundus. We teach it by machine learning. I'm going to be explaining in the workshop. This is what the optometrist sees. The optometrist does not have to know ophthalmology. If they can differentiate between red and green, that's it. It's like the stoplights. If she sees red, she will then say, this patient needs to go within the next couple of days to the ophthalmologist. If she sees green, she tells the patient, you do have diabetic retinopathy. It's not vision threatening, but you really have to watch yourself, your diet, and everything else. So why? This image analysis can be performed by trained medical personnel. You don't need us ophthalmologists. Leave us to do our skills. Leave us to do our work, which we want to do, which is surgery. Let the automation do the set work. And what does it do? It increases our efficiency as ophthalmologists. It utilizes the eye care specialist time wisely. And most important thing, the more surgery I do, I will strengthen my. You know what kills me? Is when you talk to people and you say artificial intelligence, they say, oh yeah, we have it. And they're talking about telemedicine. If you leave this conference from my lecture and you only understand this, it's more than enough. Again, I do apologize that everything is small, but I'll try to go through it. Artificial intelligence is different from telemedicine. You're mixing your apples with your oranges. Telemedicine means a remote doctor. What does that mean? You have a patient sitting here, you're examining him, and the doctor is somewhere else. You still need the ophthalmologist. So he is actually diagnosing the patient at a remote area. And he might not do it immediately. He probably has clinic, he probably has surgery. So he'll do it at his own time. What happened to the patient? He left. The patient is no longer around. So when you call the patient back and say, oh, by the way, we just saw your photos, come back, you need surgery, you need laser, you need injection. Ma Aqdar, why didn't you tell me? I was just here a week ago. My transportation is difficult. That's the difference between telemedicine and between artificial intelligence, which I'll be showing you. So you take the photo, the only difference is you have doctors, ophthalmologists, who sit and read it, and then they go back and they give the diagnoses, and then you need someone to collect it, to find the patient, to open the file, to call his number. So again, you're using more human resources. What's nice about, so not only is there a delay, there's also, unfortunately, expensive, because you're actually hiring doctors, maybe overtime, to see it. When we do the artificial intelligence, it's right there at the point of care. The patient walks in, and Dr. Nancy will tell you, the patient walks in, and within 1 minute, we get the diagnosis. I have to examine all these patients to be able to find 2 patients that really need me. Again, I apologize about the changes in the color. I have to examine all these patients just to see these 2 patients that need me. Look at all the resources I wasted. This is also very important for the private clinics. If you would get this automation, and I tell this, there are now 2 major private clinics in Riyadh that are actually going to adopt this. There's actually one in Jeddah too. They're actually increasing the efficiency of the physicians to do more surgery. So if you have someone, you have a half an hour, and you would ask your private or anyone, would you rather in that half an hour examine a patient, or would you rather treat? Private sector going to say, of course, treat, because it's going to be more income. I took 2,800 patients randomly at the King Faisal Specialist Hospital before I resigned. And I examined 2,800 patients. Do you believe that only 300 patients needed me? I wasted 2,500 resources of the hospital to be able to find these 300 patients. Why not have the black box do it and send me the 300 patients where I can do it? My waiting list would decrease. Patients that need me would not have to be waiting. So again, this is just telling you, I've said all this, I'm not going to repeat it again. It's just telling you what it does. It reduces unnecessary resources. It's being used all over the world, Tara. We're not reinventing the wheel. All I did, I took a program and I customized it to the Saudi population. So now we need to bring it to Saudi Arabia to be able to examine the 7 million, which includes the 3 million pre-diabetics and also the obesity. So again, I do apologize, but this just shows you how we customized it. The good thing about it, it also diagnoses diabetic macular edema. People need an OCT. This does not need an OCT. And again, I just showed you what we need. We customized it. We customized it. We made it automated. We customized it to the Saudi population. But what's most important thing, what did we do? When your patient comes in and he's diabetic, especially underprivileged, does he speak English? Of course not. So we Arabized it. This is the first program that speaks actually in Arabic to the patients. And Dr. Nancy will tell you, they actually give them the appointment slip in Arabic. He doesn't even have to come inside. So if you have a triage, put it outside. Don't let these patients flitter. Only bring in the patients that need surgery, which is there. What's the mechanism of use? Maybe this is so important. You sit the patient at the camera. The camera already existed at the Baha Diabetic Center. I honestly have to give gratitude to Dr. Abdullah Bumilha. If it was not for him, I don't think this program would have run. I have never seen someone so passionate for his patients and his diabetic patient. Any camera you have, it will work with it. Any camera. I will never tell you buy this camera. I'm not interested in the hardware. I'm interested in the software. We only need 2 photos. Usually when you do a good diabetic screening, you need 7. We only need 2 photos of each. Then we send it to the computer. It's regulated by SADAYA. This is everything, and it's regulated by the National Data Management Office, مكتب البيانات في الدولة. So it's not something that everything we're doing is done through the government. I'm not going to go through this, but everything is anonymized, encrypted from that point. So this is what they see. They see the red and they see the green. That's it. Then you get 2 reports. You get a report in English, which we send to the ophthalmologist, and you get a report in Arabic. And it will tell you, and it's 1 minute while the patient is sitting, the report actually comes out. And then you can actually integrate it. This is what the report looks like. This is the Arabic. Again, I do apologize. I'm not sure what's happening with the system, but it will tell you, come back in 1 year, come back in 9 months, come back in 6 months, or come back in 3 months. This is if it's green. If it's red, we say the English, it'll actually tell you it's urgent, come immediately. And this is so important. Of course, it's got the US FDA, Canadians, HIPAA. I'm not going to go. The most important thing is we got the Saudi FDA, we got the SADAYA, and we got the government NEDMO. Again, this is your automation. I'm going to be explaining this again in the workshop. So we'll go through it. This is what we went through. We started in 2019. We joined NEOM. They gave us their best people. In 2020, we actually customized it to the Saudi population. In May 2020, we got the Saudi FDA. In September 2020, we got the cloud through the government. And then in 2021, we Arabized it. As of January 2022, the Ministry of Health took us on. And then we actually started at King Salman Hospital in March of this year. We have just finished 3,000 cases. And then now we have other, we've gone to others. We have a total of 28 diabetic centers, which we are hopefully going to cover. We're going to go to the primary care centers and the virtual hospital. This just shows you the beautiful reports, which you're going to be seeing. At the moment right now, we finished 3,000 cases. We're looking now for 100,000 cases. We actually got the support. And by the end of 2030, we should have finished the 1 million cases. This is what we're doing right now. Oh, again, it's backwards. So right now, we want to get it out of the hospitals. We're going to go to diabetic clinics. We're going to go to dispensaries. We're going to go to the optical shops. And then right now, we only have the diabetic eye disease. We're going to be doing other diseases. We just joined CACS. They gave us a really big grant where we'll be doing other diseases other than just the diabetes. We're going to be doing heart disease. We're going to be doing hypertension. We're going to be doing Alzheimer's. Can you imagine that you can diagnose those through the retina? So what's our last? We're going to try to make it portable. We are now working on the portable where we can go into the home healthcare dispensaries, optical shops where we can do it. And maybe you heard His Excellency, the Minister of Communication. We're also going to hopefully be doing it by inshallah, through the mobile unit. So this is just some people, what they mentioned. I'll tell you what the chief of the King Salman Hospital, AI, has saved our hospital resources, cut down on costs, decreased the waiting time for our diabetic patients. This is an endocrinologist. To get instantaneous results of my diabetic patient without the need of ophthalmologist has made my clinical pathway of our patients extremely beneficial. Look at what the retinologist said. AI has augmented my work. It has saved me a lot of unnecessary waste of time and strengthened my surgical skills. For the ophthalmologist, it's a miracle come true. I can now trust my junior staff to actually do the diagnosis where I can concentrate. We were very fortunate that in Saddam, this is the company that I run, and I told you we're all doing it as endowments. We are here to help the underprivileged. I had to open it as a company, but it's not a business. I actually donated 30,000. And this is what we gave Nancy and Hira and Medina and others. We actually donated 30,000 free exams to the underprivileged diabetic centers where patients cannot reach, Selwa, A-Hazzaa, and others. This again tells you a lot that we have to give to our community. It's not just about collecting, but it's also about giving. So we were very fortunate. This is the MOH endowment. Dr. Haidar, may God bless him, where he accepted our 30,000 and he actually distributed it. So this is my last slide. Our vision is we want to now cover the 23 more diabetic centers in Saudi Arabia. We want to be able to enable it. We first started with Riyadh. We went to Mecca, Al-Baha, Jazan. We just started Jazan. We're so happy. I have a love for Jazan. And last but not least, of course, we went to Al-Madina. Right now, within the next couple of weeks, we are going to finish Ar'ar, we're going to finish Al-Qasim, and also we're going to finish Al-Haqoq. So I thank you all for your attention. I'm sorry if I took a little overtime, but I want you to understand that you have to understand digital transformation. Whatever you can read, this is what the government wants. This is what MBS is pushing for. We have to be the leaders. We cannot be the imitators here in Saudi Arabia. And if you don't embrace digital transformation within the next couple of years, you will not be around. Embrace it, love it. Always remember, it does not replace you. What it actually does, it augments your work and makes your work better. Thank you all very much.